Welcome to Coding Decipher. Today we'll decipher inheritance in C#. In inheritance, we have a parent class and a child class. Parent class is also known as a base class or superclass. Child class is also known as derived class. There can only be one parent class. However, there can be multiple child classes which inherits from the same parent. Inheritance allows parent class to pass properties, methods to their child classes. If a relationship is fulfilled, then we can use inheritance. This is a good rule of thumb for using inheritance. Let's take an example. We have a parent class employee. Engineer is an employee, so this is a child class. Project manager is an employee, so this is also a child class. Employee can have properties like employee ID, name, methods, and this can be passed to both child classes by the parent class. Let's look at how we would do this in a coding environment. This is our standard C# template. Let's create a class called employee. This class is going to be public, and we have to use the class keyword, and the name of our class is employee. Now let's create properties called employee ID. This property is public and it will take in numbers because employee ID will be number, and this get and set allows us to assign values in our object later on. We'll create few more properties called first name, so this will be of type string, and we will create another property called last name. This will be of type string as well. We will now create a method called intro. This method will be accessible outside of this class employee. It will not return anything and it will be called intro. Once we use $sign, we will be able to access our property first name as long as it's returned within the curly braces. And the same thing applies over here. We can access our employee ID. So this method simply says, hi, my name is first name, my employee ID is employee ID. So this will be our parent class. Now let's create another class. We have created an engineer class. Since engineer is also an employee, we will assign inheritance. To do that, we have to use a colon followed by the name of the parent class. Now, inside this engineer class, we have created a method called write code. So this method will simply say first name is writing code. This first name is accessible due to inheritance. You can see it says string employee.firstname. So even though we have not defined any first name over here, due to this inheritance, we are able to call the first name using a string literal. Now let's create another class called project manager. Again, project manager is a employee, so we will assign inheritance. Now we will create a manage project method. And this method will simply say first name is managing a project. Again, due to inheritance, we are able to access the first name property over here. If I hover my mouse, then I can see employee.firstname. Now, if we come back to our main method, we will create an engineer object from the engineer class. So this is our class name, this is our object name, and this code allows us to create new instance from the class engineer. Now that object has been created, we can access the properties. So even though the engineer directly does not have anything called employee ID, we can still access it from the main because of inheritance. Again, we will access the first name property and assign it a value of John. We can access the last name property and we will assign a value of Doe. Now we will call our inherited method. If you look over here, we don't have any methods called intro over here in the engineer class, but due to inheritance, we are able to call the intro method. And we will also call our specific method. We call this the specific method because this method is present in the engineer class. Now if I run this code, then it says, hi, my name is John, my employee ID is 1, and it also says John is writing code. So the inheritance is working correctly. Now we can do the same for the project manager class. We'll create an instance of the project manager class called manager, And we can now access the employee ID properties. We will assign it a value of 2. We can access the first name property. We'll assign it a value of Jane. We will assign the last name property value of Smith. And we will call our intro method, which is the inherited method. So this method is not present over here, but due to inheritance, we are able to use the intro method. And now we will call our specific method, which is inside our project manager class, and it simply says first name is managing a project. So when we hit run, it says, hi, my name is Jane, my employee ID is 2, which is correct. So this is how an inheritance works. Why and when do we need to use inheritance? Inheritance allows us to reuse common code from a parent class in multiple child classes, which reduces duplication. In the last example, common properties like name and ID was shared by different types of employees, so this enabled us to reduce duplication. Inheritance also offers extensibility. We can easily extend existing code by adding new classes that inherit from a parent class without modifying the parent class itself. For example, add new roles like designer or tester by inheriting from the employee class. It also offers maintainability. Changes made in the parent class automatically reflects in all of the child classes, so it makes the code much easier to maintain. Inheritance also enables polymorphism. It allows us to write flexible and dynamic code that can handle objects of different types in a unified way. For example, a method can accept an employee type and work with engineer, project manager, or any other derived classes. So here's a quick coding challenge. Create a parent class called animal with the following properties. Name should be of string type. Age, it should be of int type. And must have method displayInfo, which prints the animal's name and age. And then create the following child classes with the following method. Lion, elephant, parrot. These classes will inherit the displayInfo method and properties from the animal class. In the main method, create instances of lion, elephant, and parrot, set their name and age, and call displayInfo for each. You can also create a eat method in the child class that prints this animal is eating. Let me know how you get on with the coding challenge. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Happy coding.